Hi, my name is Abel Macias. I'm the founder of Tier 1 Marketing Solutions, and we're going to talk about custom forms. This is one of my favorites. These are one of my favorite little projects to be working on. Over the years, we've built hundreds of forms for different clients, ranging from everything from a very, very simple lead capture form where I'm just collecting just name and email, all the way to some that are very complex forms, multi-step. Some of them are pretty much applications at that point. And over the years, one of the things that we've noticed is it's quite common is that when someone has an idea to either move information or collect information or perform some sort of automation with said information, it usually comes down to a custom form. So many times, the solution to either an idea or to a problem is going to be a custom type of form, because form is a trigger that moves information from point A to point B. So if you're here and you need a form, and let's take a look at some of these examples. If you can't get your form exactly to look the way you want it to look like, that's more of a visual and a design edit. If you need to have a custom validation on your form. In other words, the form can only be submitted if a certain variable or something very specific has been validated. If you need to create a multi-step form, and there are many reasons nowadays for multi-step form. Multi-step forms are great for qualifying, but sometimes they're absolutely needed to prevent and disqualify a lot of people. If you need to have forms where you collect data files and you need to load images, load large files, or you need to append information to something. If you need to create forms that have conditional fields, if-then statements, if a user creates an action on the first step, do they go directly to the next step, or do they go to a following step? Or do certain fields appear or disappear according to what the user does? Many times you have options where you can condense a form. So maybe you have a form that's really, really large and you want to condense it. And a lot of this, and again I come back to it because it's all about moving information from point A to point B. And a lot of times we need to send this information to a lot of these other apps that we have up there. So if you have a form that you need to push information and you need to get that information either to one app or many apps or a kickoff automation, then you're in the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and just list a few of the forms that, and again, over the years, we've built hundreds of them. But lead capture forms, if you're running any type of lead capture, if you have contact forms, any type of contact form that you're going to need. Order forms for e-commerce. There's a ton of information and a ton of actual studies that show that the more user-friendly that your order forms can be, you can increase revenue. Video forms, for instance, when you click on a message with us, you get to see what the type of forms that we can create where you require a video submission from your user. Testimonial forms, in a lot of ways, we can just collect either testimonials from our people or we can collect video testimonials as well. Support requests. These are forms that either we can create so that we can send them over to your support department. A lot of times we can create custom forms that we integrate into other larger apps like Zendesk and a lot of these other form-based type of applications. Customer feedback forms, which are really big, which start at surveys, but again, there are customer type of feedback forms. If you need a much deeper and more in-depth type of feedback form, or where it's multi-step feedback, any type of website integration, really. When you have forms can be added onto websites in many different ways. So depending on the type of site that you have, whether it's something as simple as a WordPress site or something like a ClickFunnels or Unbounce, or you have your own custom app, forms can be deployed in many different ways. We prefer deploying them using JavaScript. We do that mostly, and let's say so. We also do API integrations, tons of API integrations with our forms. Again, form entries are pretty much at the core of API type of information. So a lot of our forms, once they are submitted, they also push information into our databases. So that, again, if you have a form where you need to send information into your local database as well, that's something that we also work on. Pop-up forms, some forms that would pop up, or a form that is only visible on certain parts of the page. So a lot of conditional statements type of areas. And then when we start talking about the more advanced areas, right? So we're talking, again, HTTP post type of forms where we're passing information back and forth via API, a lot of conditional logic, advanced math calculations on your forms, calculator forms, repeating fields. So advanced form building to really give you that competitive edge in a lot of the areas where, especially for B2B spaces, forms can do a lot of the pre-qualifying for your lead generating and to qualifying for your sales teams. After you collect information, then there's the other side of forms. When you collect information, you want to be able to show that and to display it out. And here we get to manage form entries. Okay, so let's go ahead and just jump into how our pricing works. First off, absolutely reach out and message us and tell us what your project is, right? Explain what your form needs are, and then we're going to be able to tell you which option to come back and choose. All right. Again, everyone's needs on a form are usually going to be different, and depending on what type of customization you need, I'm going to give you some examples of where you would end up fitting in. If you would just have a basic form, you just need to collect information. You need to have it look a certain way. You need to have it make sure it connects with all of your Zapier, and it's also sending out emails. Your basic small form is going to be that's something pretty simple, right? If you have any type of if you need a custom type of pop-up, or you need to store information into external databases, that would start going into our medium custom form option. And then for our large form, those are going to be your larger forms, the more multi-step forms and more conditional statement forms with API integrations and database connections. And that gives you pretty much an idea of how the pricing is. But again, reach out to us, message us, and we will get you a custom quote code. So that way, when you come back and you purchase your custom form, you can add your custom quote code, and we can get started. Our usual turnaround time is depending on what your form is, and we'll give you a turnaround time when you submit them. But a small form, on average, we can turn it around in 3 to 4 days, and medium forms about 7 days. Large forms give us about between 7 to 10 days, depending on, again, it all depends on the complexity of your form. And again, if we've done something like this already, sometimes we can do it very, very quick. Okay. All right. Thank you for your time. Reach out and message us, and we'll be talking to you soon.